If your day sounds like...
We need the report ASAP.
You deserve Modelo. If you've persevered through... You deserve this rich golden lager with a crisp but refreshing taste. Or if you overcame...
2 more reps, 2 more.
You deserve this ice-cold reward. Modelo, the Remarkable Fighter. Drink responsibly. Beer imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
At Ashley, you'll find colorful furniture that brings your home to life. Ashley makes it easier than ever to express your personal style with an array of looks in fun trending hues to choose from earth tones to vibrant colors to calming blues and greens. Ashley has pieces for every room in the house in the season's most sought-after shades. A more colorful life starts at Ashley. Shop in-store, online today. Ashley, for the love of home.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. It is Atlanta Dream Week, and people are fighting over the 8th seed. We don't know who's going to get it. There were some must-wins, some big implications, but before we get into it, Kristen, how are we doing on this Sunday evening?
Good. I'm sleepy. It's been a long weekend. It's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
We've been traveling. We have just been all over the place. And I haven't slept well lately. So, but all these games today have been fueling me.
Yeah?
Giving me energy, giving me life.
Good. Maybe that'll break you out of your sleepy stupor.
But you might hear some yawns.
No, you won't hear any yawns because they will be cut. Unless she yawns over me. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Big day, big slate of games. Every single team in the WNBA playing, fighting for various positions. Some at the top of the table and some at the bottom of the table. But an exciting one. If you are new here to Attack the Baseline, welcome. Happy to have you. Glad that you're joining us as we start to shift into playoff mode. There's only 2 or 3 games left of the regular season of the WNBA. It ends on Thursday. But again, if you are new here and you would love to reach out to us in any way to let us know how you feel about either a specific game, a specific moment, a specific player, or the thoughts on the season in general, you can send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or connect with us on our Twitter, ATBpod_. Now, I talked about the implications of today, the full slate of games, but first, we have important milestones to cover. We've mentioned these in the last couple weeks, but certain thresholds were crossed. Kristen, what do we have?
Yeah, we were talking about records that could be broken, but 2 specifically have been this past week.
Big ones.
On Wednesday, Asia became the regular season points leader. She passed Jewel Lloyd, who set the record last year, actually, with 939 points in 38 games. But Asia, on Wednesday, reached 940 points in 35 games.
So, more points, less games.
She currently has 971 points.
Before the game today.
As we speak, she has 25.
So she is
in the game right now.
4 points away from being the first 1,000-point scorer in WNBA regular season history.
Yep.
That is a stellar accomplishment.
And they still have 2 games to go.
Yeah, right. 2 games after today.
Yep.
Which we know because our final week will be Las Vegas Aces talk.
That's true.
So you can look forward to that pod coming next week.
Hopefully she doesn't sit. They're not going to sit them.
No, I don't think she's going to sit. She might as well just She might as well just pat it out. And they're also, yeah, no, they I don't think they can afford to sit, considering the way that the Storm are right behind them by only a game.
True. So that was Asia. And then also Caitlin Clark. She officially, I mean, we knew this was coming, scored the most points by any rookie in league history. She also just reached the most assists in a single season, with 317, passing Alyssa Thomas 316.
Right.
Which she also made last year.
And in a game today, she had 8. So that's through 25. They've got one game to play. One final game on Thursday night against Washington. She may or may not play. I would. That is a situation where they're probably settled in their 6 seed. As a matter of fact, they are locked in their 6 seed right now. So if they want to get some rest, they can afford to get some rest.
Does Caitlin have the most threes?
Made threes?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to check that.
Okay.
Fact check. We're back from our fact check. It no time at all to you, but it's been 45 minutes.
Wait, this is
not really. I'm
this
kidding.
is nightly leaders. Okay, so no player has ever had the most threes and the most assists
Oh, really?
in a season.
And she's gonna lead the league in both.
Yeah.
Because it's her versus Enrique, and she leads Enrique by 8. Well, it is funny to see Kelsey Mitchell right behind her, right on her heels, only 11 threes off of Caitlin,
Yeah,
which
that's wild.
they're such a good pairing at that point because they're both very dangerous threats from behind the arc, which we love to see.
Yeah. Well, the Indiana games lately have just been wild.
High scoring, man.
So high scoring. They shoot so many threes. Like crazy. They had 110 points today.
Against the Wings.
Against,
Put up 109.
Right. So they're like, the defense is not there.
No.
But the offense has just been like through the roof. So I'm really, really excited to watch them in the playoffs.
I am very excited and would be surprised if they don't go the full bout with whoever they're playing in that 3 seed. And I'm just going to go into it now. Let's look around. Let's look at the table. Let's look at today's implications and what it means. So far, as we're recording this at 7:30 at night, 3 games have finished today. The Fever and the Wings finished 110-109. The Fever, as you just mentioned. Then there was a Lynx Liberty game. The Lynx securing where they're at in the 2 seed by beating New York 88-79. Now, New York pretty much, and I don't know what the tiebreaker situation is against Minnesota. That actually probably has implications because I bet if Minnesota wins out and New York loses out, which is, would be hard to believe, then Minnesota may technically have a chance at that 1 seed. But as it stands right now, New York still 2 games ahead of Minnesota. And then there was a game, our Atlanta Dream played Washington Mystics in the second half of their home and home. Atlanta winning in overtime today, 76-73. And then we've got really important games going on right now, the most important of which would be this Chicago Sky versus the Phoenix Mercury. Currently 79-77 with 9 to go in the 4th. Chicago right now is 13-24. Atlanta is 13-25. Washington is 13-25. Washington owns the tiebreaker over Chicago. Correct.
And
yes.
Atlanta, yeah.
But then they're tied 2-2 against Atlanta after today.
Oh, after today.
So there's whatever the second tiebreaker is what it would result in. But we knew going into today's game for Atlanta that if Atlanta lost, they would have been done. They would have not had a chance at the 8th seed. They would have been out of playoff picture. So Chicago winning today to go to 14-24 would have big implications on that position, because I think Chicago obviously puts himself up a game, but Kristen said today in the car on our drive home, we had a long drive home, that she wants Chicago in because she wants Washington to have, the maximum opportunity for Paige. Mm-hmm. And if Atlanta and Washington fall out of that 8th spot and into the bottom 4, then there's 2 bites at the apple, the Paige apple. So that could very well happen if Chicago is able to seal a deal against a Phoenix team who's 17-20 and locked into the 7th seed. Mm-hmm. Can't move. They will be the 7th seed. Mm-hmm. So you have a question mark 8 seed. You have Phoenix in the 7th seed. You have Indiana in the 6th seed. And then you have Vegas and Seattle, 1 point difference, 1 game difference. 24-13 for Vegas, 23-14 for Seattle. Vegas is playing currently right now against the Sun and up 17 with 5 to go. Looks like they'll close that game out. And Seattle is currently leading the Sparks by 7. So I'd expect both of them to win. Then you have a massive game for the Aces this week on Tuesday against the Storm. Mm-hmm. That could be...
for home court advantage.
Yeah, right.
Because they're going to play each other.
They will play each other in the 4-5 game. Yeah. But whoever gets that home field, the home court, will be whether you're the 4 seed or if you're the 5 seed.
Right.
And Vegas is going to want all the advantages that they can have because, they've lost a step middle of the season. Mm-hmm. And if they make it through the first round against Seattle, then they're have a big time matchup against New York, which is scary. So you want to make it as easy as possible in that first round.
Yeah, you need to get out of the first round as easy as you can.
And that would mean if the Sun lose today, which, as we said, we'll expect that to happen against Vegas, then the Sun will be the 3 seed. And then you'll see what ultimately comes out of Minnesota and New York at the top. But most likely Minnesota at the 2 and New York at the 1. So that could potentially mean New York versus, let's say, Chicago, Minnesota versus Phoenix, Connecticut versus Indiana, and Vegas versus Seattle would be our playoff matchups for 2024. Pretty sure that's going to be what it is.
Okay, well, we'll do more of a preview of that next week.
Correct.
As John mentioned, we will be looking to be Las Vegas Aces fans this week. Mm-hmm. But the games are done on Thursday, so that should come out.
Sometime earlier in the weekend next week.
Yeah, and then a playoff preview.
Yes, well, the playoffs will have already started. Playoffs are starting on the 22nd.
That's true. Oh my gosh,
so
it's so quick.
Yeah, we'll probably plan to do some smaller pods just to live react to some of the games as early as we can, because there's going to be a lot, especially in the first round.
Yeah, a ton.
So
I hope the schedule, they're more like spaced out time wise a little bit.
I doubt it.
Having 3 games at 3 today and 3 games at 6, we couldn't have done like 1 every hour or something. It's just like so hard to keep up when they're all starting and ending at the same time.
WNBA schedule makers.
And all the halftimes are at the same time. That sucks. I want to be able to switch to a different one during halftime.
Yeah, I can't get the quad box on there.
Right.
Come on, I need the 3-screen experience.
Yeah.
Frustrating. But anyway.
Okay, well, let's move into our Atlanta Dream.
Talking Dream.
Yep.
Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. What I love about Shopify is how no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business business to the next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We got our first win in 3 weeks today.
Oh, God. Today, an overtime win.
Overtime. They go to overtime too much. The dream.
The week started with a game against Minnesota, which was a loss. And then I mentioned this earlier, but they had a home-and-home against Washington, starting in Atlanta on Friday, and then today against Washington in Washington, where our dream ultimately ended up winning. Why don't we go from the top? Mm-hmm. Minnesota, the game that felt like it took place 40 years ago at this point. For some reason, time is like in a weird way. That just, it felt like it was ages, but it was our first time really seeing this team. We look at our starting five. We've got Jordan Canada, Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Naz Hillman, and Tina Charles. Tina Charles, a player that we've talked about a ton, and some of these other players that we've talked about a ton, but others that we've barely ever mentioned.
Ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't realize that Naz Hillman played as much as she played. I feel like I never had seen her play. I really thought that Haley Jones was in the starting lineup or at least played, first off the bench. That wasn't the case at all.
Well, she was. I went back and looked today at their day one starting five, which was quite different than it is now. Well, I say quite different. Two players different, exactly. Haley Jones did, in fact, start at the beginning of the year for them. And Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, a player that I had on my fantasy team this year, who's been hurt for a good portion of the season, started at the 5 for them. So it was a bit of a different setup. A Naz Hillman replacing and a Jordan Canada replacing. And Haley Jones still plays. Doesn't play a ton.
Right.
But she doesn't. She's not the starting 5 player that they might have thought early in the season.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently we missed Ryan Howard's hot streak.
Her best week.
Because apparently last week she had 3 games with over 30 points. Mm-hmm. And truly, these 3 games that we watched, I can't even recall one basket that she made.
That's not right.
I can't. She was not shooting in these games.
But she was shooting.
Not to my knowledge.
She was shooting. I can promise you that she was shooting. The team in general did not shoot particularly well.
No.
In any of these games. Just that, I think let's start with that before we talk about let's start with that. In the first game against Minnesota, the team collectively shot 30%.
Yep.
21 made shots on 70 attempts.
They attempt a lot.
They attempt a lot. Sure. In the second game against Washington, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, just looking at the numbers, another 21 made field goals on 73 attempts. So 28.8%.
Yeah, horrible.
And then in today's game, I haven't checked this number yet, but I bet it was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
26 makes on 66 shots for 39.4%. So today was a little bit of a better make. But yeah, Ryan Howard, 3 for 12 in today's game. She was 2 for 10 in the last game.
That's what I'm saying.
And in the Minnesota game, bringing it back to where we were starting, she was 5 for 19.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not...
So she was not the offensive prowess in these 3 games that she was in the previous ones. No. But defensively was good.
Yes, I would say that she surprised me in, getting to watch her be kind of a rangy defender and a handsy defender, the way she was able to swat some passes away, even just knocking them out of bounds, or able to swat them to a teammate so that they could get a fast break. Definitely a underrated part of her game, I feel like. Something that, I was maybe able to see a little bit more watching 3-on-3 in the Olympics, but that's 3-on-3 basketball. It's different. Here, she was able to sort of be a little bit of a free safety and get out there and interrupt some of those passes, which I thought was cool. And just, from a broad scope, I think the team is pretty decent defending wise. Like on the defensive side of the ball, they kept the scores low. Even against Minnesota, who we know is a good offense, they kept the scores low. In both of these Washington games, it was they were 3-point games either way. They lost by 3, they won by 3. So they have an ability to force shot clock violations. The very first defensive possession in the first game against Minnesota was a shot clock violation on Minnesota. So that was a pretty cool thing to say. That was my first note that I had about the team. And like a player like Naz Hillman in the paint, she was guarding Nafisa Collier, who is, an MVP candidate, really, really well, preventing her from scoring easy buckets. And I think that was not something I necessarily expected to see, because especially in these last games, not everybody's playing the most defense, but Atlanta has a lot to play for. So they're going to play tight. They're going to play hard. They just really couldn't make any shots.
No. And also I think something that it contributes to, and also something that, stuck out to me was they really are not terrible with turnovers either. They had 0 turnovers in the whole first half of the Lynx game.
True.
So they're not messing up in that way. They're not playing sloppy. They don't foul too much. Jordan Canada is a good passer. It's just the shots. It's just the shot percentage, field goal percentage. They're not good at that. They're not the best.
No, they get, at least this week, they got a lot of their scoring done at the line. I know in both of the Washington games, they pretty handily led in free throws. Ryan Howard, despite, not being the best shot maker this week, was able to get to the line. Alicia Gray, who we know is a skillful player, can do a lot of things. She won the skills comp.
And the 3-point
and
contest.
the 3-point contest. Normally thought of, to me, I think of her as a 3-point shooter, but when I watched her this week, I saw that she was able to take the ball to the hoop a lot.
Yeah, more than I thought.
Draw a ton of fouls.
I figured, Alicia Gray just kind of sits at the 3-point line and waits for the ball to be passed to her. But that's definitely not true. She's all over the court. She didn't make as many threes as I expected her to make.
Yes. I mean, another bad, the shooting was bad for everybody, not just Ryan Howard. Alicia Gray especially had a very rough week.
Yeah.
From Beyond the Arc.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Because, you know, how much I love talking about Alicia Gray. It was a tough week to be an Alicia Gray fan.
It was. But honestly, like, even though that's the case, I still feel like Alicia Gray and Tina Charles were basically the only offensive options on the team.
Right.
Like, something that I try to do when I watch these games, and we switched to a new team for the week. So I'm like, I try to watch a person or two for every game so I can like learn about each particular player.
Right.
And every time for this dream team that I tried, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch Jordan Canada for this half. Or I'm going to watch Naz Hillman, or I'm going to watch Ryan Howard. I always like find myself not doing that and instead just watching Alicia Gray and Tina Charles because they're basically the only two players that are shooting, that are going to the rim, like creating any offense whatsoever.
Right.
So it's hard to pay attention to the other players because they're just not doing much.
Well, and we'll talk about, I want to talk about this more in greater detail in the Washington games, because those were the games where it was the biggest on biggest display. But just to close out my thoughts on this Lynx game, you hit the nail on the head by saying I'm trying to watch these other players, but I find myself going back to the same, two or three, because 5 players in this game played more than 29 minutes, the starting 5. And then Maya Caldwell and Lorella Kobai played 14 minutes apiece. And this was the game that those two got the most minutes. And Maya Caldwell scored 7 points, had an okay game, 3 of 7 shooting. She made a 3. She made some tough buckets. This was my first time seeing Maya Caldwell. But maybe the biggest talking point in these Washington games that we'll get to is the fact that there is non-existent bench scoring.
0.
And it is fully dependent on basically Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, and Tina Charles to score, to outscore the entire other team.
And the bench.
Correct. Which is not an easy thing to do. I know they've only played, 38 games, but it is very apparent watching these games for Atlanta that especially these 3, especially these 2, Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray, they are exhausted.
Yep.
They are absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
They've got, they're shooting threes and they're coming up short. They're there's shot clock violations because they have no clue where to get the ball because they've just been playing 40 minutes a game some of the time. Like, they're playing every single second.
Yep. And you can really tell, even, season-wise, they seem exhausted. But also, in each of the individual games, they start these games so hot. These past 2 Mystics games and the Lynx game, I think, like you were saying before, they had a great defense in the opening possession against the Lynx, and they started the game, basically tied with the Lynx. And the 2 Mystics games, they have great possessions and they have great first quarters, and you're like, wow, this team is good. And then they just get slower and slower and more sloppy, and by the end of the game, they can't keep up at all.
Yeah, the story of the Lynx game, like you said, there was a point in the game where it was tied 50-50 with 3 minutes to go in the third. Very winnable game for Atlanta. And then in the fourth, there was a 4-minute stretch where they did not score
so many
a single point
of these stretches.
Huge drought. And this isn't even, that's not even the worst drought.
8
of the
minutes
week.
Against the first game against the Mystics. There was 8 minutes. They did not make a shot.
A single basket.
They had free throws. They made free throws, but they didn't make They didn't make a field goal.
Yes. Crazy. Like, I have never seen a professional basketball team only make 1 basket in a single quarter. That was the second quarter of the first Washington Mystics
And
game.
like they were kind of laughing about it. Like Tina Charles is like kind of laughing, like what are we doing?
I don't know if they were laughing then, because let's switch the focus to those Washington games, the home and home. The vibe, I wrote this down. The vibe of the start of that game was both teams, we're just gonna smoke layups and we're gonna laugh about it. Tina was laughing, Ryan Howard was laughing, and the announcers were like, Ryan Howard's smiling, that's a bad thing for Washington. And then Ryan Howard proceeds to go and shoot terribly, 2 for 10 or whatever it was in the first game. Not great, but I mean, I guess it's good to smile and laugh on the court, but I guess they probably thought that they were just gonna, find a way to come back and take this game from Washington.
I mean, yeah, it was a close game.
It was a very close game.
Mm-hmm. They were leading with 2 minutes to go.
Well, they were leading with 2 minutes to go. They took the lead back, but the whole game...
Yeah, they were losing the whole game.
They were chasing them.
And then they were leading.
And we told you the shooting percentage. This was this first Washington game was their worst shooting percentage of 28%. It was like, the announcers even said it, because this was an Atlanta home game. There must be a lid on the rim, because the amount of rim out threes, especially in the first half and into the third, they're crazy. It was like something was wrong with the rim, like the rims were bent or something. Just nothing was falling.
And they had 5 offensive rebounds in the third quarter. And you'd think, oh, great, you get second chance points off of that. No points off of their rebounds.
No.
It was very hard to watch.
Yeah, they have that stretch we just talked about in the second where they only score 1 basket. But then it's the end of the first half and it's 34-30 Mystics.
Right.
And you're like, they could win this game? They have no right to win this game. But they could win this game. Mm-hmm. Like, does Washington want it?
Because they started the first quarter so good. They were leading by like 12 in the first quarter.
Right.
So
and
they
then it was
gave
just
themselves a lot of,
cushion?
wiggle room.
Mm-hmm. And then I sort of like, I blacked out and I didn't write any notes until the score was 47-47 when it was tied with 1:40 to go in the third. And I think I want to scale it back and talk about the other things that annoy me about Atlanta, even if this is out of context.
Okay.
What's the deal with the cameraman?
I don't think it was the cameraman's fault.
It was not the cameraman's fault. But when the music plays...
The music is so loud. The bass is so loud. And I don't know, maybe the camera's not like bolted in well enough or whatever. The camera shakes every time that bass plays.
The fact that you have to watch this team miss a million threes and then have to do it through shaky cam is a disaster.
Oh my god. Yeah, we really got the worst 2 camera angles. The worst 2 cameras in the W this week, with the Atlanta shaky cam and then the Mystics being like so zoomed out the whole time I can't tell who anybody is. It's horrible.
It's so bad. And you gotta respect the hype man for doing his job, but just saying defense. I was getting annoyed because I was like, what happened to watching basketball when the ball goes in? I was just like, my head was spinning. Mm-hmm. The ball going around the rim was circling my head.
It was too much. We were overstimulated watching this.
Atlanta takes the lead with 2 to play by 1 point.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've led since the first quarter. Mm-hmm. Great. Maybe Atlanta's going to steal this game that they have no right to win. And then they commit a foul. which puts, I believe, Stephanie Dolson to the line. It was Ariel Atkins to the line. Ariel Atkins hits a couple free throws, gives them a lead, gives Washington a lead. Go to the other side. They commit an offensive foul. Ball goes back to Washington. Washington scores. Washington goes up 3. And not great. They're down 3, 19 seconds to go for Atlanta. What are they going to do? What are they going to draw up? Let's see. They inbound the ball, and they want to try to drain the clock. But they're moving around, and they're kind of all over the place. And in what looked like a desperation move, Tina Charles, our player who gets her money in the paint, chucks up a 3, bricks, and that's the game. Atlanta loses.
I'm not mad with not another overtime game.
No, but I don't think that was probably the look that they wanted.
No, I don't think that.
Even though Alicia Gray was the only player in the entire game who had made more than 1 3. So
they're not good at threes.
They are good at threes if they have more players to relieve Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard of a second, instead of forcing them to just chuck whenever they want to chuck.
Right.
Both of them love to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll shoot a ton. This was just not the week.
Yeah. Well, the second game against the Mystics, was definitely the best game of the week.
Absolutely.
It
must win. Win or go home.
It was must win. They knew it was a must win or dream. And they won. So that was great.
They did. They led the entire second half, or they led in the entire first half comfortably, like a good, margin of error to give.
And I think it's something that, the announcers had said that in the first 2 games of the week, whenever like Tina Charles would miss an easy basket, and this happened many a time during both of the games, they kept saying, Tina Charles, 9 out of 10 times, she makes that shot. And I'd been hearing that for 2 games straight.
So when Tina Charles isn't making any shots.
So I said, I don't know about that. But in this last game against the Mystics, Tina Charles had 3 back-to-back-to-back, very easy, good, not long twos, but, mid-range
jumpers.
twos to start the game. So she found it in this game, Tina.
Yeah, 8 of 14, 57% field goal percentage. She had 20 and 10.
That was her, let me go back.
Is that her big one?
Her 192nd double-double.
She's so close.
She needs 1 more.
To break the record?
To tie the record.
Tie the leader in double-doubles, which is Sylvia Fowles.
Yeah.
Right?
Sylvia, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Sylvia Fowles. And then she's got 2 games to play. If she could do it.
Well.
She could do it this year.
Career. Yeah. Yeah, she'll do it this year.
Well, I mean, she needs to do it in 2 games. She needs to do it in both.
She can do it.
She can.
Oh, to break the record.
Yes.
She can tie the record. I don't know if she'll break it.
Kind of feels like that's the case. Oh, just checking out. Phoenix won the game.
Oh.
Beat Chicago.
Okay, so all 3 teams are tied now?
All 3 teams are tied now.
Wow.
Correct. This is some crazy stuff. And Seattle's only up a point with 20 seconds to go against LA. We'll check on that in a minute. But yes, I going back to what you're saying, Tina Charles, good game.
Yeah,
for Tina Charles.
Good game for Tina Charles.
Yes.
I think also the best game for Jordan Canada.
Yes.
She had really, this was the only game that I noticed that she did her like own ISO plays. She had been just passing and passing and passing and barely, attempting to shoot herself. So I'm thinking, okay, Jordan Canada, she doesn't get many points in general. She's just, trying to pass. But this game, she started doing it. And I don't know how many points she ended up
14.
having. 14 points.
Real. Jordan Canada is a player that would be really good as your off-bench change of pace kind of guard.
Yes.
She's very fast. Very, very fast. She made a crazy circus shot in this game, like falling to the ground, chucks the ball up with a crazy amount of spin.
Oh, it was so cool.
Goes off the top. Like a, 1,000% difficulty
Yep.
make that had no business going in. But
And she had a really good steal at the very end of the game, which allowed them to,
seal the game.
go into overtime.
But yeah, 14 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 16 of 4, or 6 of 14 shooting. She had a tough time behind the arc, but that's been the case the whole week. She's a pretty good player.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Canada. But again, might not behoove this team for her to be, starting with Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard. These, two shoot first players, guard, forward types. But this is the position that they're in. They don't trust Haley Jones.
Apparently.
Ariel Powers has been hurt for a long time.
Months.
And you don't have any other options.
Right.
So you just kind of got to do what you got to do.
Did you mention the bench points?
I did. I said we'll talk about it in more detail, but in this game, they put up a graphic of the bench points that Washington scored versus Atlanta, and this was with 8 to go, or with 5 to play in the game. 5 minutes to go in the fourth. Washington had 34 bench points to Atlanta's 4.
Boo.
4.
So bad.
4. Their bench was Maya Caldwell playing 7.5 minutes, scoring 4 points. Haley Jones played 8.5 minutes, scored 2 points. Kubai only played 4 minutes.
Well, that's 6. Okay,
They
had 5
had
minutes.
6 total in the game.
And then also overtime.
True.
We're
But honestly, they probably didn't play overtime.
Yeah, they probably didn't.
And Nia Coffey, a player that barely played the entire week, also had 0 points. So,
Kubai had 0 points.
yeah, on 0 shots.
I feel like she's in the most.
She played a lot in the Lynx game.
Yeah.
And we saw her a little bit more in the first Washington game, but in this other game, she only played in this last game of the week. She only played 4 minutes.
Not good.
So maybe they said, tighten rotation. Let's only play the starters for any more than 10 minutes. We got to go to overtime. We got to make sure we win this. Otherwise, we're going to go home. It's basically a playoff game.
Yeah.
So you're going to play all, your 5 best players for the majority of the time. But that's exhausting for them.
Oh, yay. Asia had 1,000 points. How many points did she have?
Oh, yay.
29. She hit it exactly. 1,000.
I love it. Good for Asia.
Yep.
Vegas wins. Seattle wins.
Okay.
So it's going to come down to the big Aces Seattle matchup coming down on Tuesday. But let's bring it back.
Okay.
Sorry for the live reactions here. Exciting day of play. But our last couple thoughts. It is a 70-70 game that forces overtime, thanks to Emily Ensler of the Washington Mystics, who hits a big 3 to make it possible to force this overtime. Our exhausted 5 Atlanta Dream players go in, and there's a ton of messy late shot clock shots, and it's basically just a baby fist fight. There's only 9 points scored in these 5 minutes of overtime.
Yeah.
Atlanta scores 6 and Washington scores 3. On I'm pretty sure all free throws. I don't think I made bucket in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Oh my gosh.
But actually, no, I lie. I know Emily Ensler made a 3, and that was it.
Okay.
for Washington.
Yeah.
But a win for Atlanta is a win for Atlanta, and they can find themselves in this position now that there's a 3-way tie for the 8th seed with 2 games to play.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Who knew we could get this much excitement from the bottom teams.
Yeah, who gets to get, run through the buzzsaw of New York and lose in 3 games.
Shocking to me that the 3 of them want to compete for this spot, but here we are.
Well, we know the page implications that we've already talked about in detail, so.
Okay.
Any last thoughts on Atlanta? Not the most thrilling week of WNBA basketball from a team perspective. I thought going into this week they were going to win both of these games against Washington, and they did not do that.
No.
And they do not own the 8th seed right now.
They very easily could have, and they did not.
Correct. They could have beat Minnesota, we said.
Yep.
With how they played at the start of that game. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. My overall thought about Atlanta is that Ryan and Tina and Alicia are very good, like, tier 3 players. But when you put 3 tier 3 players together, they don't have enough juice. They just period. And I know part of it is because they don't have a bench. Mm-hmm. They could have been a better team, but I don't think the ceiling of this team was ever going to be very good. If Ryan Howard was healthy the whole year and Cheyenne Parker-Tyus was healthy the whole year, then they probably are leading Chicago and Washington by 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, not by many more.
But I don't think that they, are better than Phoenix.
No.
Phoenix has BG and DT and Ka.
Right.
Like, that's just another level.
Correct. You're right.
And I love watching Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard play most nights. Mm-hmm. It was just not the best week for them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I understand that they're not superstar level, but they're still very good players.
Yeah.
So I don't want to disrespect them, but I just don't think they have that
They have
juice
no help.
challenge.
They have no help. They have to do everything themselves, and you just can't be expected to do that.
Right.
Well, who was your favorite player? Was it still Alicia Gray?
Unfortunately, I can't say after this week that... I mean, Alicia Gray worked her ass off. Mm-hmm. And, there were moments where she was the only one that wanted to win the game. She drove hard, and I'm still going to talk about Alicia Gray for a minute, even though I said she's not the one that I had the most fun playing or watching this week. I'm going to say I think Jordan Canada is the player that I appreciated the most this week, just because I hadn't really seen her, and I know she was hurt in the beginning of the year, but I can appreciate a player that can operate with a lot of speed, and she has pretty good body control, and she can get out on the fast break, which is exciting. I think she's an exciting player. I said, like, I said to myself, like, oh, is this her second year? And I'm like, I don't know what made me think that she was, like, a very new player to the W. She's 29. She's been around for 4 or 5 years at this point. But Jordan Canada is a fun player that I think would be a really good bench asset to, like, any team in the WNBA.
Oh, yeah.
I don't look at her as a starter type necessarily, but, maybe in the right situation that could be her deal. But, yeah, Jordan Canada.
Okay.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I agree in the sense that nobody really blew me out of the water this week. So I'll just say that my favorite was Tina Charles. I came in knowing the most about Tina Charles, and I was, hoping somebody else would stand out to me significantly, but no one really did. So here we are. What I really appreciated about Tina in these games is that she, especially in this last game against the Mystics, she was great on offense, especially at the beginning. She really helped them set the pace at the beginning of the game. But then she still, as a big, is so mobile. And she is still, running from when they're on defense, running from player to player, trying to defend. So, even though she's mostly in the paint, she still can get out and it has great defense, and is very reliable on offense. So I appreciated her. And I do think a lot of this team is young. So having Tina there as, a veteran is good for them.
Yeah, I guess in a big picture sense. Tina might not be there next year.
Who knows?
It's tough to say. I know Tina wants a ring. She's going to be
Tina wants a ring.
She's one of the best to never win a ring. She could.
Some would say the best to never win.
Some would say.
I would.
Some would certainly say.
Go back to our New York Liberty podcast where we did a deep dive to Tina Charles.
Yeah, highly recommend. That was a fun time. But I don't know if Atlanta's the place. I don't know.
Not with this current roster.
No, and as we know, Atlanta gives their pick to Washington. So
yeah,
it's not going to be this Atlanta team. So could Tina hop to another squad?
If they want her, that's the problem.
I know, and I hope somebody does. I hope this isn't just like a sort of the sad send off for Tina Charles.
It will not be. She will be in. She's gonna keep playing. She's gonna get number 1 in all-time points. She will beat Diana Taurasi, and then she will have the most points and the most rebounds in the W, and she will be the best player. Okay.
Well, not necessarily the best player, but if she can steal both of those, that would be. I'm very much here for it. I just need to see what the plan will be for her.
Give Tina a chance.
Give Tina a chance. She's cool.
Yeah. And she was like having fun. She was like laughing. She's like, I've done this for so long. I'm just having a good time.
I hope that's true. I hope you're not reading into like one smile and saying, oh.
Yeah, probably I am.
It's okay. Maybe they have a chance.
So why should we be Atlanta Dream fans? I will answer this question in a much more zoomed out way.
Okay.
If you go back to our beginning of the season pod where we previewed the Dream, we talked about how the Dream are very socially minded, very conscious of, I don't want to say politics, but like doing good.
Yes. Yes.
I forget the name of this horrible woman who used to be a part owner or full owner of the Dream. I want to say her name is Kelly Loeffler. That may not be correct.
Redacted. Whatever it is, her name is redacted.
Let me look it up. Yeah, okay, it has to be her. She said some horrible things during COVID, Black Lives Matter, and the Dream basically pushed her out of ownership and helped elect Raphael Warnock to the Senate. And they just the organization in general they seem to be like very good spirited and like a team that you can get behind and root for.
Yeah.
Even if, the standing wise, they're not the best. Like people wise, they seem like great individuals. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a documentary about that 2020 election.
Yeah, and we plan to watch
that we would like to watch in the off season.
Yeah.
If the off season isn't, packed with unrivaled basketball and other stuff, then it's one of the things that we have on our list to do. But I agree. I think that, there's something to be said about the fact that Atlanta was one of, 3 teams that sold out season tickets before the season started.
The stadium's very small.
Maybe that's the reason why. They could use a boost on that. But it still shows the fact that Atlanta is a city that cares about basketball, cares about this team, even if the standings don't, aren't in favor of what the fans might want. I do think it would be cool if they can, get a little playoff run here just to, have those vibes up. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some young, talented players that are good in Atlanta. I know Atlanta's seems to be one of those places that a lot of people move in and out of. Like a player will come in, stay for even a year or two, and like go out, come back. Like Alicia Gray hasn't been here for a long time. This is I think her first season in Atlanta, and it might be her only season in Atlanta because who knows what's going to happen with the expansion draft. But I do think that, you know, if they set the cornerstone in Ryan Howard, a player that just won an Olympic medal, a player that is talented. Like, I don't think that she's the player that can necessarily take them to the promised land. But with the right sidekick, I think that she can take a huge leap forward, be one of the top, 20 players in the league. Better looks, better open looks, clearer lanes to drive, that sort of stuff. I think that she's a player that Atlanta should be excited about. And Jordan Canada too, another player that they should be excited about. We're going to see. It's tough that they don't get a pick in the first round of the draft. That would be great if they had that opportunity, because I think this draft's going to be okay. But, things could shake up really well as a result of the expansion draft for Atlanta. We never know. And maybe if they make the right calls on free agency, they could be in a position to challenge the table next year. If health plays out a little bit better, maybe they find themselves in a 7 seed or 6 seed. You never know. But I do think they're a good organization. That is a rootable organization. I just hope they get a better camera for their fans, so you can watch the games a little bit better. Mm-hmm. That's everything that I have for Atlanta. You're good on our dream?
I'm good. I liked them.
Yeah.
I would debate being a fan.
I would debate it. I would debate them versus the other 10 teams that we've I might be a fan of.
Perhaps it's recency bias, but I would debate them.
Yeah, we'll see. Las Vegas Aces next week, like we said, to close out the slate of regular season basketball before we get into the playoffs. Very excited for playoff hoops. Looking forward to that. If you're new here and you'd like to contact us, please do so. Send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com. Send us a kind message about your thoughts on the WNBA, or connect with us on our Twitter at @ATBpod_. You could also be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review. We would love that, so that you can continue to spread the good word of the WNBA to all the new fans like us that are just beginning to establish our baseline knowledge.
Something I do want to say is these announcers were the closest we have come to an announcer saying attack the baseline.
So close.
The amount of times they said attack and the amount of times they said baseline was like way more than any other announcer I've heard. But
that
they
might
just
be a reason for us to stand.
Never said it together.
Maybe someday we'll actually get to hear the beautiful words attack the baseline said on national WNBA TV.
Never been said before.
It's never ever been said. But until then, we will hope to hear it in the WNBA playoffs. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline, and what are we going to do?
Attack it.
That's right. We'll be back soon with another episode of Attack the Baseline, but until then, bye-bye.
At Ashley, you'll find colorful furniture that brings your home to life. Ashley makes it easier than ever to express your personal style with an array of looks in fun trending hues to choose from earth tones to vibrant colors to calming blues and greens. Ashley has pieces for every room in the house in the season's most sought-after shades. A more colorful life starts at Ashley. Shop in store or online today. Ashley, for the love of home.
Bingo.
All right, Phil, we're recording now, so it's live. Go ahead. Pick on me the way that you want to.
Did I say that? I wouldn't say that to my son. Man, I mean, come on, man.
Just go. This isn't CBS.
All right, be quiet for a few seconds. Why would people want to listen to the Sims Complete podcast? Well, a couple things. One, if you like to see sons pick on their father, this might be the place. If you want to see a place where the father just kicks the out of his son, this would be the place. What do you like about it, Matt?
Ditto. Father-son dynamic duo talking about the game of football that we love and share and appreciate together. And, you know, hey, it's an extension of what we did, right? Growing up, I was able to watch my father play football, then obviously watch him as a broadcaster. And then he taught me the game of football and share the wisdom that he learned throughout his playing career. And, you know, hey, sometimes we're full of it and sometimes we actually know a thing or two.
Well, we do a lot of research. At least I do. You're a little spotty, but you know, you hang in there. It's fun. I love doing this and it's been awesome.
Sims Complete. Check us out wherever your podcasts are available on the Believe Network. Appreciate it. See ya.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.